Hi everybody, welcome to Northern Fell Running, and we've got a very special guest for you today. It's his second time here at Northern Fell Running. Please welcome Mr. Ellis Bland. Hi Ellis, welcome back.
Thank you very much. It's good to be back. I'll be perfectly honest, I actually couldn't even remember when we did the first interview, and then I got tagged on something on social media and I was like, when did I do an interview with these guys? And then I saw it was immediately after the race, and you can just see in the video.
The first time I met Ellis was at the end of the Cheviot Goat, which was last year.
But you're very forgettable anyway, Graham. So I don't.
I am.
No, as soon as I saw it, I remembered it, but it was immediately after I'd finished. And in the video, you can see I'm just like staring off into a tracking screen, trying to work out where everyone else is on the course, and it was good fun. But yeah, no, it's good to be back on.
Well, we've done a little bit of investigating about you, Ellis. He's done some thorough investigation. So we're just going to run through, for anybody that doesn't know who you are, we're just going to run through some of your achievements, and you can just have a brief chat about some of those things and some special memories you have of those. And we've got some surprise questions for you as well from some people that you know.
Perfect.
Yeah, so I did do a bit digging. From what I could find, you've got quite a few records to your name, haven't you?
I've got a few. Yeah.
Yeah. Modest. You've got the Northern Loop record, the FKT Hadrian's Wall record. You've got a record for the lap, which Graham's going to talk about in a bit. You've won the Chester's Ultra 50. You've won the Rat in 2021. With a lot of other things. I mean, I keep going on, but basically, out of all your achievements, what's your most memorable and why?
I mean, you've listed the achievements, which is always nice. There's a few DNFs on there, which I'm always more comfortable speaking about.
We're going to get to them.
Oh, good. No. The DNFs are key. Weirdly, you've listed there a lot of what you deem achievements, and I think that's really nice. It's very flattering to sort of hear them read back. But, right now I'm looking at the map of the Cheviot Goat, probably for the first time since I ran it. And completing this is probably right up there. Immediately people think, oh, it must be the Rat, to take 55 minutes off Dan Lawson's record. A lot of people speak to me about that, and that was good, but it's totally different, and my type of running is going more down that route of really fast 100k racing. But then when I really look at what an achievement is to me, completing the Cheviot was probably right up there, because it's definitely the side of running I'm less comfortable with, and I take a lot of satisfaction in completing that. So yeah, I would say probably completing the Cheviot Goat.
Was that more for the conditions themselves rather than the route? So I mean, it's quite a boggy race, really, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, I'm used to those conditions. I train out of the Trough of Bowland, and it was sort of home from home. It's a bit taller up there in the Cheviot, but it was a bit of an achievement for me because I had to race differently. I like to run from the front, and Donny Campbell was there, and I went with him for about 27 miles, and then he pulled away. I mean, he's fresh off the back of Munro's records, and you could just see it. He was just eating the climbs alive, and I thought if I go with him, then I'm probably gonna do myself a dirty and not finish. And I really didn't want that. I'd come off the back of a disappointed run at UTMB at CCC, and this was all about completing it. And so I had to race differently, and I dropped right back down into third place and sat quite pretty. And then with 2 miles to go, kicked on to take second. And like I said, I don't often race like that. I've always been the runner who's always looking over his shoulder, even when marshals are telling me, Ellis, you're 55 minutes ahead, you're an hour ahead, you're this ahead. I still never believe them. And so this was different. And I don't know if I enjoyed it, racing like
You
that.
seemed surprised at the difficulty level. I remember at the end you were sort of took you by surprise, didn't it?
That was my ultimate compliment to Drew and all the guys who are putting this race on. Was, I get emails from time to time saying, "Oh, do you want to come and do this race? Do you want to try this race? Oh, it's the hardest race you'll ever do. It will kill you." Everyone's threatening to kill me all the time and kill other runners, and then there was this race up in the northeast, and I'd been booked onto it for so long, and with all the restrictions.
Did you book onto it, Ellis, or were you invited?
No, I booked onto it. I paid good money for it, and so by the time I got up there, it was sort of 3 years in the making. And like I said to Drew at the end, it was played down how difficult it was. And it really made me smile, because I thought, God, if you really did sell that for what it is, you might not get anyone on the start line. I'm used to following fence lines for 3-4 miles, but not many runners are. And it was really, really hard. And I was so impressed with Cold Brew and everyone for putting it on, and just basically saying, look, this is a tough race, but you'll find that out for yourself. It was quite refreshing.
I see a lot of comments on Facebook, people talk about the price and blah, 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 blah. But having worked with the guys behind the scenes, when you're all out on the race, the logistics behind that, the course is massive. And getting, safety teams out there, that they have to walk in miles. There's no roads. It's not like the Lake District where you've got towns and villages spread out everywhere. It is really, really remote.
Oh, I'll say it as it is. You cannot put a price on safety. And I know that sounds so corny, but I mean, I always say, like, I'm at these races to get it done as quickly as possible. There's a lot of people out on that course that have no idea how long it's going to take them. I knew I'd been in amongst the 10, 11-hour mark. But, when you're summiting every one of these remote fells, and God, they are remote, and there's a mountain rescue team in a tent at the top, these guys are heroes for being up there. And the cost of races will always come up in conversation, and I'm sure they could put it on for a quarter of the price. You wouldn't have a race. It would be dangerous, and you'd start having deaths on your hands. And you've got to think, well, what is racing all about? And is racing about 5 of the quickest at the front, or is racing about the whole field? And I needed the safety teams at times, and everyone needs safety teams at times. So you can't put a price on it. And whatever they say on the comments, there's always people that love to comment. They'll be commenting on this saying that's not right and that's not true and he's fake. But I don't listen to him. Like I said, money well spent. And I'd never thought about not coming every year when they said, oh, it's had to be cancelled for this, cancelled for that. I was like, God, I'm going to put it back another year and I'll come back and do it then. So, yeah, it was class.
Yeah, they had a bit of a hard time, didn't they, because of COVID?
Yeah.
And then the Storm Arwen, I don't know how bad it was where you live, but up in Northumberland, it just absolutely trashed everywhere.
Yeah, I have a lot of mates up in the northeast. I went to university up there, and so got some pals there. A couple of them actually came out on Hadrian's Wall, which was really nice. And they were just saying, "Oh, it's just carnage up here." And no, I felt for Drew, and I felt for Cold Brew, because not for want of trying, like you touched on then. And for anyone watching this that's thinking, "Oh, it's in England, it can't be that remote." I mean, they call this the loneliest ultra. I mean, Jesus Christ, it was so remote. And I'm trying to think now of road crossings. One in maybe the first 20 miles, and then you run on the road at the end to finish, and everything else is just barren. I mean, even getting into that checkpoint too, at mile 41, you dropped onto a service track, but I wasn't expecting to see any cars passing by.
Yeah, that's the same road. The road that you're talking about crossing in the first 20 mile, the one where you drop down to go to checkpoint
Yeah.
two, that's the same stretch of road.
Well, there you go.
Not even a road, is it? It's
No,
like a
no.
forestry track.
Yeah.
Let's talk about you mentioned DNFs.
Yeah.
Me and Lee have had a couple of DNFs ourselves.
Shut up, I've had one.
You've had, well, okay, I've had two. You've had one.
The goat was my first one, and honestly, I was. It was. I mean, I don't want to talk about me because this is why interviewing you.
No,
but
I want to hear about you.
I had just done the Pilgrims, and I sort of managed to limp to the end and pull a second place in with a knackered knee. And then on the back of that, we just jumped on the goat thing, and it was what I only had like six weeks to train for the goat, and really I shouldn't have done it. So I felt a bit on the goat with my knees, one overcompensating for the bad one, and then that one went as well. Coming down the side of Cheviot, I could hardly walk, so I managed to limp to checkpoint two, and that was it for me. But aye.
But how do you cope with the DNF, Ellis?
I mean,
Like mentally, does it destroy you, or do you just take it as part of?
Well, I don't know. It's like you've just said there. You know, you came off the back of Pilgrims, and 6 weeks later, you're lining up on arguably the hardest sub 100-kilometer ultra I've ever done. Yeah. And I think obviously that you're learning from that is you don't have enough time, and
exactly.
I think the one thing I say to anyone who listens, and the problem is with ultra running in general, is it's I'm going to say not a young man's game because it's a figure of speech, but both male and female. You can't cram. It's a long old game. You know, I started focusing on the long stuff when I was 24 years old, and I'm 29 now. I'm 30 in August. I'm still 6, 7, 8 years off my peak, and I'm racing maximum. Well, if you look at my schedule for this year, you know, I'd be running the Arc in January. I'll run in the States at the end of April. I'll probably throw something in July or August, and maybe that'll be it for the year. You know, we're only looking at racing 3-4 times long a year, and I think how I've recovered from DNFs is basically looking at, well, why am I DNFing? You know, is it headspace? And if it is headspace, well, what's triggering my headspace to be poor? And then it's just constantly going back to the drawing board and tweaking. And, well, why did you DNF? And is it too soon to be coming back? And is this what you want to be doing? Do you want to be running long this early on? And it's just a constant. And I have no... I definitely don't have the answer. I'm not by no means the oracle, but I think one thing that has worked for me, and if I could give anyone one piece of advice, it would be you've got to enjoy running long. Like for me, I combat racing long, so I'd constitute a long race is sort of 40 miles upwards. And then in and amongst those 40 milers, you know, I'm going down and doing track nights under the lights and getting thrashed by 5K specialists. You know, I'm racing in the fells over 5-6 miles, again, often getting thrashed by specialists. And it really humbles you as a runner. And then by the time you get onto the big stage, by big stage, I'm talking sort of 40, 50, 60, 100 milers, you're like, well, this is where I'm meant to be. Everything else was for fun. And then it sort of makes you respect the distances a little bit more, you know. You feel a little bit more ready to go when you're running long. But I see a lot of people like serial ultra runners, you know, couch to 50Ks. And it's like, it's just, that's the end goal all the time. Whereas for me, you know, I'm always looking at doing something else just to keep it fresh. And I think that's basically how I combat any DNFs that I've had in the past, is just right back to the drawing board. How can we make this more fun? How can we enjoy running again?
Now, Ellis, we've got another question for you from the organisers of the Cheviot Goat.
Yeah.
So the cold brew guys. So it says, "Hi Ellis, it's Andy that wrote the question. So it's Andy here at Cold Brew Events. Well done on your second place last year, a great achievement. If you could come up with one line to convince someone to run the goat, what would it be?"
Oh, that's a great question. I think, I've never been accused of mixing my words, so I won't. I think there are a lot of runners in the UK that pick their races very, very carefully. And for me, I genuinely believe if you want to be held in high esteem and respected for really putting yourself out there, I would go and race the Cheviot Goat. I think this will test the finest mountain runner in the UK, or ultra distance runner, and I think that would be how I would sell this race. Is for me, I don't know if you can say. I mean, you look at the list of names that have done this race that I really respect. Nicky Spinks, Damien has done it.
Sabrina Vergier was on it last year with you as well.
Sabrina's done it. Kim's done it. Simon Roberts has done. So many names, and I will have missed so many runners off that I really respect there. And you look at this list, it's a little bit like the Felsman. The Felsman is a race which sort of flies under the radar, but has super, super respect in my industry because people are like you've done the Felsman. And for me, this is the same. It's, yeah, you're a really good runner, but how did you get on at the Cheviot? And that should be hand in hand. And, everyone talks about the spine because it's so long. I'm never going to do the spine, not for the next 5-10 years. It's too long for me. But if you're not going to do the spine, then this is packing it. This is packing it all inside 60 miles. So, yeah.
Are you going to go back and do it this year?
No.
No,
I said it as soon as I finished. It's really funny. Some races I do, and I think, I'm going to come back and do that. It's time to come off, or I could have done that bit differently. I could run this course quicker than I did it. I'm sure I could. But I don't think I could run it as well as I ran it that day. And I don't feel any time I could put down on this would make it any sweeter. For me, this is box ticked. And in no way is that an insult to this race. If anything, it's a compliment. This race was that good that I only had to do it once. And no doubt you'll see my name on the start list like next year. But no, for me, it's done. It really is. And looking at the map now in front of me, I can see why it's done. Yeah, box ticked. So, yeah.
Well, Ellis, I'm really sorry to cut this short, but we only have 2 minutes left of the video. So thank you very much for doing this.
No, it's my absolute pleasure. Thanks so much, guys. Keep doing what you're doing. It's class, and good luck going back here.
Cheers, man. See you later.
Thank you, Ellis.
See you guys.
All the best.